Thanks for tuning in to the Mo Better Radio. We are your favorite radio hosts.
Now, do you have anything that you wish you would have done differently after all these years in your ministry?
Yeah, I can list a number of things. Some have been, and I always tell pastors this, pastor, just pastor. Mm-hmm. It's not, don't worry about trying to make everybody like you. Don't try to be everybody's friend. Just pastor God's people. I'm one of those comical pastors. I know I can laugh with you, but I can cut you at the same time. But then I can put a band-aid on it and keep moving on. I have this thing when I talk to my leaders, I'm about to deal with a disciplinary issue. I say, first, you know I love you. Well, when they hear that, they know it's coming. Oh, yeah. But after they leave, we all good to go. Mm-hmm. So if I can do anything different, I would make sure that I didn't allow anything from my personal life evolve into the ministry. Such as when I was going through the transition of divorce, that I should have kept it in a different way. I should have sought a different type of avenue more than the avenue I did go down. Yeah. Because when you're hurting, you have a tendency to talk to people, and then people you can trust with leadership. And when they decide to walk away, they take the information shared with them, and they sometimes use it against you.
So what would you say to the person who probably would come to Christ, but they don't because they've been too hurt by the church?
Well, first of all, you have to define what the church is. The church is not the building, it's the people. Yeah. It's like on your job, when you get offended and someone hurt your feelings, do you walk away from the job, or you just tell them, you just look beyond that? Now the church is a different work itself, because this is the place people come and they're expecting help. Mm-hmm. Help don't always mean a handout, but a lift. But there is no doubt people get injured in the church. Right. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when they do get injured, it's not by the pastor, it's by another parishioner. But because they are not in the right setting of maturity, they'll leave the church and the pastor don't even know they're leaving. Wow. Or they may be offended with the pastor because he corrected them. We're living that time that correction is somehow is being resisted. Yeah. But if you want to be saved, you want to be born again, you want to live for Christ, you have to have correction in your life.
So no, I ran into a girl that I know. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and we were talking, and she was just amazed at how well I spoke about my church, and she just loved it. And she was like, "Oh, it's just good to hear that." And so I invited her to the church, and she was like, if you say all that, why don't you want to come? And she was like, dang, I have a church people and all that stuff. So, but really that's what it was. She had been hurt by the church, and so instead of seeing it from that perspective that, you'll find a bad apple everywhere, she just left it alone altogether. So.
Well, what I would advise on those type of opportunities, because you're witnessing at that moment, is probably exchange phone numbers with the person, and you just be their church.
We did.
We did. You talk to them back and forth. You show the love of Christ, and you kind of wing them into the thing of God. Yeah. Once they see church of you, then they'll come.
Yeah, that's true.
So true.
I know that with 25 years in the ministry,
yes,
I know that it has to be difficult. A lot of pastors don't make it to 25. Statistics say that pastors are the loneliest people. In this case, what is it for you?
Well, it's because I've been chosen. If I wanted to walk away, I could. This is my life. When I say life, not because of the stability of the church for me financially, which is their responsibility, but it's all I am. It's who I am. If I walk away from the church, I walk away from everything. Yeah. So when I became the chaplain with this company, the agreement was I had to take an extension of ministry. I don't need a job. My ministry takes good care of me. But this is an extension of ministry. So it's like my local missionary mission. Yeah. And that's why I'm able to do what I do. But there are times when, if you're not careful, you can become irritated, frustrated, just like anyone else. Right. But I have that ability to not, I process things different than I do now than I did back then. Okay. My process now is, I don't allow what you are going through of your choice to affect me. Okay. I let you sit with your own stuff.
Right. Okay.
By that way, I don't have to internalize other people's issues or problems. I listen, but it's their issue. I advise, it's their issue. I encourage, it's their issue. I try to tell them what they need to do, it's their issue. So at the end of the day, I walk away, I go home, I sleep at night.
That's good.
Not too involved.
Yeah, you can't get
Gotta
involved.
draw that line.
Yeah, you gotta draw the line, because you don't, not just as a pastor, just as a person in ministry, you have to know the line. I had a guy told me years ago in my book, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, was a banker. I think it was my private, personal bank. He says, Fred, how do you deal with certain matters pertaining to things going wrong? I said, I know not to cross the line. He said, well, that's not good enough. He said, you should be at a place you don't get close to the line. Because if you close to the line, it's not too much it doesn't take much to cross over.
Right.
But if you don't get close to it, you don't have to worry about the line.
Man, I like that. Man, that's what's up. Now, as a nation, all of our churches in the world, how do we get the real church to stand up?
Well, the real church, again, goes back to the individual. It's your personal relationship with Christ. The Bible teaches that we must reference Him with fear and trembling. And what that means is to have honor and respect for God. You know, when you're young, you have a different mindset versus when you get middle life age or you start maturing in Christ. Not to be age, but it's that years of being born again that you start thinking differently. So you have to look at the church individually and let the individual become the masses. Meaning we grow within. We grow from each other. Iron sharpen iron.
Yeah.
So if you're in a place where you're not supposed to be, you're not at the part, then your sister, your brother should be able to come in and sharpen you to get you back to the rightful place.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Times are hard, look at how we living. Jesus Christ had our back from the beginning. We in this world, so we gotta show the difference when hope is gone. We gotta be the difference in life. We gotta make a difference in life.
J Mo better.
Your girl Lady B
I'm your boy T Shines.
telling you to
Keep God first, and the rest will be added.
Slap somebody and tell them here.